right, everyone, thank you for joining us and tuning in for the May general membership meeting. That's already been moving for a few minutes, but I forgot to hit record. But so for the sake of YouTube, we're starting now. And Rachel from the HAT Foundation, she's going to kick us off by sharing with you all an opportunity for a new program that's coming to the community involving AmeriCorps. So Rachel, feel free to jump in and take it from here.
All right, thank you, Josh. I recognize a couple of names on the call, so I may have already chatted with a few of you. But the HAT Foundation, we received an AmeriCorps grant specifically for a senior demonstration program, and we launched it in Peoria, and we're going to now be bringing it to Springfield County. And I reached out to Josh and a few others to see if organizations may be interested. So to explain the program, it's around workforce development. And we developed a program that would allow individuals 55 plus to re-enter the workforce. So our application and what we're suggesting and what we've been doing in Peoria is training people 55 plus as community health workers. So we do this in collaboration with the Illinois Public Health Association, who is located in Springfield. So we do 40 hours of education with them. While they're doing that, these individuals are also then housed or hosted by an organization where they can get their on-the-job work experience. These individuals do receive a stipend through AmeriCorps. It's not a lot, but it's $5 an hour. So they're able to receive and work up to 10 hours a week while they're doing the education part, which is about 4. So they then have another 5 or 6 where they can volunteer or support an organization. It's, like I said, we've done it in Peoria and we've had huge success. So the reason I reached out to Josh and a few others, we are looking for organizations. It's twofold. We're looking for organizations who may be interested in sponsoring or hosting what they're called AmeriCorps volunteers, even though they receive a stipend. So that's step number 1. So if your organization would have roles or things that an individual may be able to do that would support you, but also give them some experience as and maybe I should back up and say a community health worker is someone who has lived experience. So you may not necessarily use that term or have staff who have that title, but there's someone in your community who has their own lived experience. And we know from experience that community health workers have a better chance of liaisoning with other people in your community, either through education, helping to connect them with resources. Those are the types of things a community health worker would be able to do. So step 1 is we're interested in identifying organizations to partner with as a host site. Also, what we did in Peoria, and this actually helped us to identify some really strong volunteers, we gave presentations. It's low-income senior housing communities, and we identified I'd say 1/3 of our volunteers through that effort. So if anyone has contacts where we could go and actually talk about the program when we start to do the recruitment phase, that would be a huge help. Like I said, we know just sending out flyers isn't enough. We do need to get in front of individuals really to explain what the project is. So those are the 2 pieces, and Josh was kind enough to allow me to spend a few minutes explaining that to all of you and see if anyone here might be interested in participating or have contacts for me. And I see Lisa, Abundant Faith, so I will connect and see if I can reach out to them.
Yeah, and Rachel, if you want to put your email in the chat there too, that would give folks a chance to connect with you, and we can open it up for a moment too. Does anybody have questions for Rachel? Excellent. Well, Rachel, as you have information too, we can share that in our general membership email that goes out to everybody and kind of make sure everybody knows about the opportunity. But we really appreciate you jumping on this morning and sharing with us.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone.
Take care. All right. The next item on the agenda is I titled it Heartland Housed Crisis Response System Walkthrough, and it really should be Heartland Continuum of Care Crisis Response Walkthrough. And the whole idea here is just to take a moment, as we've been talking with people and kind of making presentations in the community and even talking with staff of agencies, one of the things that becomes clear is that sometimes the system is hard to understand, hard to navigate, and we forget certain things, and there's all kinds of dynamics in play. So we thought it might be good just to take a moment, a couple times a year and just walk through our basic system, some of the programs that exist, and see what questions folks have from there. It might help us to kind of understand where we need to do more with community education. So I'll walk through it. We can certainly, as I'm walking through, don't hesitate to jump in and ask questions or make comments. But as we share about our crisis response system, this is often a slide that we share. There are really, 5 key components: coordinated entry, outreach, prevention and diversion, emergency shelter, and permanent housing. And, really that prevention and diversion, we've come to think of that more as housing problem solving. And we've tried to kind of build new programs and new efforts around that. But as you look at this wheel graphic, all of these efforts, all these parts of the crisis response system, they only work because of the organizations that are doing the work, right? These programs shrink and grow on the basis of funding that materializes in the community and organizations being willing to try new things or grow programs or make adjustments as we go. So there's always some level of movement. I think as most of you that are here on this call, you're here because you're interested, you're passionate about this, your work touches it. You are aware that resources come and go, programs grow and shrink on the basis of that. And so it's always kind of an ever-moving type of effort. So what I tried to do, and I'll just start out of the gate by saying this needs more work, but try to sort of take this wheel and move towards more of a graphic representation that hopefully is helpful in sort of seeing how all of these things work together. You're like, that's a lot on a screen, which is how I felt too. But the overall goal for us is to build a community where homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring. So all of our efforts, all of the ways that these things work together, the ultimate goal is to help a household, help a person or a family get into a stable housing environment, and then to be able to provide the supports to help them, stay there and be successful there. So the way that we do that, or the ways that we do that, it really sort of starts with housing problem solving. In the community, we have homelessness prevention funds. Fifth Street Renaissance, the funding that we get from the state, Fifth Street Renaissance has been our homeless prevention provider and has used those funds to help people who fall behind on their rent for some reason, stay in their housing. That's, in my opinion, some of the best money we can spend as a community, is helping people stay out of the system altogether. And so homelessness prevention is one way to do that. In the last year, we've had, through the state of Illinois, we've had the opportunity to create diversion programs. So these are programs where people essentially show up at the front door of the system. They interact with an agency. They're about to experience homelessness, or they have just started that experience. And diversion can sort of really work in that space to try to make that experience as brief as possible. Rapid Exit is another newer program that we're starting. And the idea is to identify people who might be in a shelter setting or a transitional housing setting who are ready to move into housing. They just have a barrier that could be first month's rent and security deposit, something along those lines. And so Rapid Exit sort of works to identify households in that situation and quickly help them get into a housing environment. Flexible funding, this is something we're experimenting with now through a grant we got from Aetna. And again, the idea is to say, sort of can work across homelessness prevention, diversion, and rapid exit, but basically the goal is to identify folks who are ready to move into a housing environment, but again, there's some barrier that's getting in the way, and the flexible funding the goal is to try to help step into that. Housing navigation, we use that phrase, but we also think about that as a person. Nick is our continuum of care housing navigator, and the work he's done over the last few years has been phenomenal to support organizations and to support people get into housing units. We are with Nick's role. He's also worked heavily in the probably, I would say, the housing problem solving space, right? People have a question about, right, this person might have a little bit of income. What can we do? And, a lot of times those calls go to Nick. And if you could imagine, that role, he's trying to build a relationship with landlords, he's trying to identify units, make sure that when an agency needs a unit for rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing, we can help find one quickly. Adding in all the housing problem solving stuff is really, that's a bit beyond what is realistic for one person to do. And so in part in response to that, and also in part in response to just other things we've heard over the last couple of years and ways that we want to help, we recently hired Shamika Kerr to be our housing problem solving specialist. One of the things that Shamika and Tracy and others are working to do is to create what's called the Heartland Housing Helpline. That will be a number. It is a number that people can call. We'll help them ultimately get connected with, available rental assistance or utility assistance providers in the community. Also, if folks identify a person who needs housing navigation assistance, the helpline would be who you would call. And then after going through an intake, Shamika would say, Nick, this person is ready, and help take some of that stuff off of Nick's plate as well. So we're still in the soft launch building part of that, but we're really excited about what that could become in the community. And, again, the goal there is for that to live in that housing problem solving space, to try to identify resources or ways to help people stay in their units without entering the system altogether. So the goal of that effort, housing problem solving, you'll see pops up in a couple different places, but it's sort of the start. We know that the realities that exist in our community and not just our community, all over the place. There are a number of our neighbors who their housing is precarious, right? Many people in our community are one crisis away from entering the system or touching the system or needing some level of assistance. And so the goal is to network all of those providers who have resources in that space, and to make sure we're helping people get connected as quickly and easily as possible. And the success out of that would mean that we help people, families, households, prevent experiencing homelessness in the first place, right? So that's the big goal of that. We also know that sometimes that's not possible, right? That depending on the situation, it may not be possible to help a person stay in their unit, and so they enter the door to the homelessness system. So there, just a couple ways that happens, right? We engage people through street outreach. Community partners engage people who are experiencing homelessness. Emergency shelter often is the primary front door for folks who experience homelessness. And from there, we have a couple different options. As people experience homelessness, coordinated entry is a key. Coordinated entry, I think, can seem mysterious to people, but it's a mandate for our community to have a system and a process to prioritize people for housing opportunities, and coordinated entry is that system. So it's an assessment that many partners in the community can do that really kind of gauges a person's situation. Are they literally homeless? How long have they been homeless? What other risks and barriers are they facing? And we use that information to try to determine who is the most vulnerable person or household, and they're the next people to get prioritized for housing. So that's something it's clear to us that that coordinated entry is one of those spaces where we need to do a better job communicating to the community what it is, how it works, and how to access it, especially among even partners on this call. If you're talking, working, assisting a person that's experiencing homelessness, getting them on coordinated entry is one of the best things you can do to help them get access to housing opportunities. So that's one key component for, all of these efforts as people experience literal homelessness. The other part is to continue to work with people in a housing focused way, right? To say, all right, you're here, you're in shelter, but you have a job, you have some income. Let's start working with you to try to see if we can get you out of the shelter and into housing as quickly as possible, even if it's not through coordinated entry or, some of the programs that exist. So housing problem solving, shows up here as well. Rapid exit, again, would be one of those places that would work in this space. Housing navigation and rental assistance, there are programs that can support security deposit and first month's rent when funding's available. So the goal there is to say, how can we help you successfully navigate your way into housing, even if it's not through rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing, to make that experience of homelessness as brief as possible. So that's a key component of the system. And then through coordinated entry, I probably should have followed this out when I was talking about it. The two key programs that you hear us talk about quite a bit are rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing. When we completed the strategic plan at the end of 2022, through looking at data and making projections, the plan calls for us to create 765 housing opportunities over the next now 4 years. And when we talk about those 765 housing opportunities, what we're talking about is permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing is it's short-term rental assistance paired with case management that can, depending on the program, last up to 2 years. So it kind of works in that space of really, in a dream scenario, right? People are getting connected with rapid rehousing really quickly after they experience homelessness, and they're helped through that program to get back on their feet and stabilize as quickly as possible. And then there's a 2-year cap on how long that assistance can last. But again, a lot of our programs are structured to try to help people stabilize faster than that, generally within a year. Permanent supportive housing, for people to be eligible for either rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing, they have to be literally homeless or at imminent risk of homelessness for rapid rehousing. For permanent supportive housing, a person or household has to have a disabling condition, and they have to have been homeless for longer than 12 months over the last 3 years. So, when you think about coordinated entry, these are things that we're trying to figure out in that coordinated entry process. Is a person chronically homeless, which is what that means. If a person has a disabling condition, and if they've experienced homelessness longer than 12 months across the last 3 years, there's potential that they're eligible for permanent supportive housing. So those are two programs we are working to grow in the community. In the last 12 months, a key development is through the state of Illinois' Home Illinois initiative. We got a significant allocation over around $1.2 million for our community to create diversion programs, permanent supportive housing, and rapid rehousing. So with that funding, several of our organizations are working as hard as they can to scale programs, to grow new programs, and to help more households exit homelessness and stabilize through those programs. Another development that's happened in the last year, and some of it is still moving, but during COVID, our community got an allocation of what's called emergency housing vouchers. So these are vouchers through the Springfield Housing Authority that people could enter through the continuum of care, through coordinated entry. So our community used those to help people exit rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing. And through the work of Springfield Housing Authority, we have the opportunity to restart that program here in the coming months because of work that the Springfield Housing Authority has done to make a certain portion of their about 40 vouchers work in the same process. So they took a one-time program, they saw that it was beneficial to the system and to the community, and they replicated it, which is just can't understate how significant that is to support our organizations and to support people to exit those permanent supportive housing opportunities so new people can go into them. So it's a crucial part of system movement. So those vouchers, and we're going to talk more about that. We've got to finalize a policy here in the coming days. But they'll work through our organizations and through coordinated entry. And then in the future, we're also going to be establishing a moving on process with the Springfield Housing Authority. So again, that will really work primarily with that permanent supportive housing space to help people exit those opportunities because they no longer need much case management, but they still need support with that rental subsidy. And that will open up new opportunities for people to exit shelter and exit chronic homelessness into those permanent supportive housing opportunities. So the growth in this space has been incredible. Our organizations, you know, we can't say enough how much your efforts to grow these programs and to work across this whole image has impacted our community. In a moment, Jamie's going to talk about the 100-day challenge, and you'll see a lot of these themes kind of play out in that. But another thing that we've sort of been celebrating recently is just kind of looking at, as the strategic plan calls for those more housing opportunities, you know, how are things progressing in our community? And in 2019, just to give you just a picture of that, 94 people through the coordinated entry process entered permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing opportunities. So in 2019, 94 households had the opportunity to exit homelessness and be supported through those two programs. In 2013, that number was up to 254. So that gives you a sense of the growth in our organizations, the growth in the system's ability to help people. And we anticipate that number will be significantly higher in 2024 because of the continued growth of our organizations. So just to, again, give you a sense of how the system moves, how it works, and how the continuum of care organizes itself. This is one take at a graphic representation of that. And again, the overall goal is to create a community where homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring. So what you see reflected here is really the rare and brief part, right? Homelessness prevention, that really works in that rare space. Helping people through coordinated entry get into housing as quickly as possible. That's the brief component of that. And our goal in 2028 is to build a system that's effective enough to help people within 30 days make it through that coordinated entry process into housing or through that housing problem solving space into housing. And then the non-recurring part is the part where, you know, as we look at the system of the whole, that's a part where we recognize we need more support as a community. As we help people get into those permanent supportive housing opportunities in particular, you know, we need to be able to help them connect with, you know, substance abuse treatment opportunities, you know, mental health services, to help them, you know, really address whatever challenges they might be facing in life, and to provide that extra support for our case managers who are working hard to help people stabilize. So that's an area of certainly of where we need continued growth in our community. But working across all of that, we're seeing success as a community. We're seeing things work, but obviously there's challenges at every part of the system as well. And at the end of the day, none of it would be possible without agencies, without frontline staff, continuing to push into all of it and you know, really try to figure out how to grow, how to improve, and at the end of the day, how to help people become supported in housing as quickly as possible. So I'll stop there. I'll invite you can email me and let me know to the degree this was helpful. You are sort of the guinea pigs of this. You know, ideas you have for helping us communicate more effectively to the community about how all of this works together, and you know, and how we can help people continue to be a part of these different parts of the process. I'll stop there for a moment just to see if there's any questions or comments on it before we move on to the next agenda item. right.
Hey, Josh, it's
Yes.
Melissa. I do have a question. If we were to meet somebody, okay, so for example, the other day I was at Walmart and a young man approached me and he explained that he was homeless and he needed some help and I gave him my soup and and I mentioned, some resources that are available for him. But like, is there anything that we would be able to, I don't know, like a pamphlet to hand out or something like that if we have a similar encounter, just so that they can find the door, the
Yeah.
door to all of these services.
Yeah. Yeah. The key place that, we compile all that information on our website, there's a need resources tab. And where every time we learn of a change in a program, we make that adjustment there, but there's also, a basic needs card. We try to keep those printed. They're, a little out of date, just, they're constantly changing. So we're constantly reprinting. So we're going to be printing another round of those, but there's also a one page, either we can get some to you, but there's also a one page on the website that people could print on their own to have available. But that's probably the best way in terms of having something tangible to hand somebody. That's available. 211 also, especially for shelter information that doesn't change that much. 211 is that even you can call 211 and while you're there to kind of help that person see what's available, or you can encourage them to do that. And then we'll put our housing helpline number in the chat. At this point, that's only operational during business hours, but that would be another resource that would help people, navigate what might be available for them.
County also puts out a good trifold resource page too. It's pretty conclusive.
Yeah, and we link to that on our resource page as well. For people, if you want to check it out or download it, the link is there. We'll put a link to the resource page there in the chat, and we'll put the housing helpline and a link to the basic needs card all in the chat here in just a moment. Thanks, Melissa. We're working on some exciting stuff too that we hope will make some of that even easier, but we're going to hold off on an announcement to that till we get a better timeline. So, all right. We will move on. I'm on the wrong computer. Here we go. The next item on our list is the 100-day challenge. We shared this with you in March when we were maybe about 40 days into it. So now we're coming up on the last 5 to 6 days of the 100-day challenge. So I'm going to invite Jamie to share about that now.
Sure. Morning, everyone. Just a quick update on where we're at, some milestones that we hit, some gaps that we've identified, and then just want to share some potential strategies that we'll utilize moving forward to just make sure that the things that we've done during this challenge, we were able to sustain them. So the original goal that we set for our community, we had a bunch of different community partners. A lot of you guys are on this call, so hello, appreciate you all. But basically in 100 days, we'll work with 100 people experiencing homelessness. 60% of those will identify as unsheltered homeless. We're going to work towards housing 15% of those folks. 90% of those folks we will enroll in coordinated entry. And then we were hopeful to get 25% of them engaged with complex care services, kind of whatever that may be. So just that was our goal. I would say we've crushed a lot of that goal. The last data report I ran, and I didn't run, Tracy ran for me, sorry. I need to kind of look into it more, but within the last almost 100 days, we've housed around 21 individuals, and that continues as we've sent a lot of referrals out. So that's exciting. 63 folks out of our big list, our 100 list, are enrolled in coordinated entry. So we didn't quite hit the benchmark that we were hoping for, but I think we still made some concerted efforts to increase different access points, make sure that we're incorporating or bringing coordinated entry to folks that we're seeing out and about. And then part of that comes in with our outreach efforts. So we created an outreach map to make sure that folks that are doing outreach in the community know where people are at or hanging out. We also created an outreach tool to streamline different outreach services that are happening on the weekends. We wanted to make sure that those that were doing outreach in our community can also make sure that the folks they're encountering are having the same opportunities, which means coordinated entry, resources, you name it. And so those efforts on the weekends were with St. Al's Ministry. They do, let's see, the second Saturday and the fourth Saturday of the month, and they provide supplies to those folks. But now that they're out and about, they still supply or give supplies, but they're able to connect them with our system and get folks connected to housing opportunities. And then also part of outreach, we've been able to incorporate folks with lived experience in outreach efforts, and that's continued to grow. It's exciting. I lead an outreach the first Monday of the month, so if anybody's interested, shoot me an email and you're welcome to join. But those with lived experience, they joined last outreach. They really enjoyed it and they're hopeful to do it again. And they talked everyone's ear off, which is great. And I kind of sat back and let them do their thing. And I thought that that was great to see and it's exciting in the future for more to come of that. And then I'm trying to think of anything else, sorry. I do want to hit an important thing. We did house a lot of folks, but I do want to reiterate that some of the folks that we housed were of the most challenging that historically we've engaged with in our community. A lot of them have been resistant to shelter or resistant to services in general. But the process happened to where they were on coordinated entry. There were street outreach workers that were working with them, building rapport, and then they were able to kind of do a warm handoff to housing providers. And so we were able to help house some folks that have historically been very difficult to house. So I think that's a big highlight to this challenge. And a couple of the gaps that we've identified though is just, we need to make sure that we're maintaining coordinated entry, kind of the access points. Obviously the agencies within the HCoC, we've identified different points of those, but I think, if we can go out one day a week and do like a coordinated entry day or go to the mission or something, I think that that's something that we've identified, we just need to continue to do. And I think that's it, just because I feel like I've been rambling. So did I miss anything that I should include?
I don't think so. That's great stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what we've been doing, folks, so appreciate it.
Thoughts or questions for Jamie on that?
Have we captured any information on these people that are, I'm on the street level. This is Robert with Clean Slates, and I actually do a lot of work on the street level, and I hear a lot of people that I see new in the community that Springfield seems to be the hotbed for the state to come to for assistance. And I'm really curious of the number of people that actually have been in Springfield for some time compared to the people that are in transit coming from out of state and other cities in the state to get the assistance and help in Springfield, and we're capturing that information in any way.
Yeah, so if that's and just say, Robert, that notion is one that that again I think has been shared in this community quite a bit. It's also one that every continuum of care I talk to across the state says the exact same thing. And there are some unique elements to, I think, our setup where we're located in central Illinois, and where shelter and services are available compared to other communities. There's a large rural area around us where there are no shelter services accessible. So while our continuum of care's coverage area is Sangamon County, we serve a component or a geographic area that's much larger than Sangamon County. As we watch sort of inflow into the system year over year, where the emergency shelters in particular are kind of tuned in to saying, we're seeing a lot of people come from this particular institution in another community or another area, and we kind of check in on that as we go. They could probably give some insight into that, but we're not seeing trends that are different from previous years, at this point in terms of inflow into the system. So, something we continue to look at, but they're not real easy ways to sort of, pull up a graph anyway that says, this is where everybody's coming from, because, often the stories the experiences, the stories are all quite complex and involve a number of different communities in many cases.
Thank you.
Robert, that struck me too. We need to have a conversation with you about the outreach form, and we need to pull you into that a little bit. So
Yeah, I was gonna wait to the end to have my little spiel. So I'll be in the public's comments area there as far as what we're doing.
sounds good. When actually we'll move to the next item here really is agency update. So I'll stop sharing screen so you all can see each other and share about things that you have going on, anything that you all want to bring to the table.
All right, well, I guess I'll go ahead and step in. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I will be leaving Helping Hands as executive director as of the end of this month. Several of you know I've been experiencing some health challenges, so I'll be taking some time to focus on that. Patty Crouch will be serving as the interim director while they search for somebody permanent, and I'll be maintaining an advisory role. Just wanted to let everybody know that the agency's doing really well. We have our program leadership they're the ones doing the work. So I don't want anybody to be concerned about the agency. It's doing very well. We continue to serve about 120 a night in our shelter, and then we're housing people in Virginia. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 4 to 5 a month between our programs. And then diversion is going well. So I wanted to personally say it's been an absolute joy to work with all of you, and I'm excited to see what happens in the continuum as you continue to strengthen the homeless crisis response system. And I just wish you all the very best.
Laura, I think we could probably burn an hour going around the room here. And so I'll try to take the first shot at it, but we want to say we wish you all the best. Your health and well-being is absolutely the priority. And so we're anything we can do to support you, we're here for. But secondly, we just want to say that, your heart, your passion, your commitment to serving the folks experiencing homelessness in our community has been just a key part of not just Helping Hands growth, but our whole continuum's growth over the last few years. And so we can't understate, what your commitment and what your gifts and passion have brought to the community. And we just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Right. I'm going to put Laura's email, I'm sure she wants more emails to deal with, but if anybody just wants to send her an email and let her know how grateful you are for it, it's going to be there in the chat in case you don't have it already. So.
This is Dave from Sangamon County. First of all, Laura, thank you for everything you've done for Sangamon County. You have made a difference and we appreciate it. And we wish you the best as well. Secondly, we still have LIHEAP funds. And I'm going to guess we'll have enough to last us through the month, this month and into June. If you have a client who has not received any LIHEAP assistance since last October, they're welcome to come in. They do not have to be behind on their bills. They do have to meet the income guidelines set by the grant. Or if you have a client who we've helped once, now they have a disconnect notice, and we have not helped them with that in the past or since October, then tell them to come back in and we can help with a disconnect as well. Ameren and, well, CWOP disconnects all year, but Ameren started disconnecting again in April. So if you have a client within that situation, please have them call us, make an appointment, or and we'll get them in as fast as we can and help them out.
Thanks, Dave.
I guess if there's nobody else, I didn't want to jump in until somebody else spoke, but I don't want to take the floor until somebody.
I think the floor is yours, Robert.
All right. So Clean Slate Advocates, I'm sure that if you don't know, we are a organization. My name is Robert Frazier. I'm the executive director of Clean Slate Advocates. We sponsor the Soap to Hope program here in Sangamon County, Springfield, surrounding areas. And last month we processed over 60,000 loads of laundry for the community in need. This is a program that started late quarter last year, and it has been on a fast track of growing almost out of control ever since. We expect to reach pretty close to, if not exceeding, 100,000 loads of laundry a month. The facility that we in has the capability in a 10-hour or 12-hour time that we're open to process over 5,000 loads an hour. I'm sorry, a day, 5,000 loads a day. So we are open. We're using the facility. We're coordinating with All-in-One Laundry and Services on 801 South Grand. Definitely didn't have any intentions for this program to be at the level that it is. Never dreamed that the need was there. We support probably every agency out there. We see people coming in the door, whether they are homeless or whether they're in a home and they're struggling. And pretty much most of the people that we see, I would venture in, that are in homes, struggling financially to stay in their home, struggling with high rents, high food costs, high utility costs. And so laundry takes a back seat. We've had people come in the door that have had laundry in their basement for over 2 years, or somewhere in the house, or somebody's had situations where they're not able to support their families, and kids are having issues with going to school with dirty clothes. And we are just ecstatic that we're able to help so many people eradicate that need of clean laundry and linen at a very expedient way. And come in, we can handle a lot of laundry at one time. But we need help. We need support. We need support from the community. This initiative has been supported by All-in-One Laundry, who is a local business that we do commercial linen all over the state. We also dual as a coin laundry service also for the community. But for our non-for-profit CSA, we need some support. We need some community support. So we're reaching out. We attend meetings. We are all over the place trying to, as we enter into this non-for-profit work. Once again, CSA started fourth quarter of last year, 501c3 organization certified through the IRS. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. But otherwise, we look forward to continuing to do what we're doing for the community as it's a need. And we expect to see this program expand throughout the state of Illinois and beyond.
Yeah.
One in the country that I know of during our research that is doing something at this level and magnitude.
Great work, Robert. I know we've said it before on here, I'm sure, but I know a lot of our organizations and a lot of folks we work with have benefited from it, without a doubt. And Clean Slate Advocates is, if you're looking for their information, we can put it in the chat. It's also on our resource page that we chatted to there. There's information about how to access that service. Other agency updates. Okay. Now we're gonna move into announcements. Just a couple things on our list. Jamie, you talk about the supportive housing task group.
Oh, yeah, sure. So when was our first supportive? It was January?
Yep.
January of this year, we partnered with CSH to put on supportive housing learning labs. With the idea that after we would have these labs, that we would continue holding a space for our different housing providers in our area and direct service providers to come together as a task group and continue to kind of discuss what was discussed at these trainings. So we just had our last one on Tuesday. It went well. It was great. We appreciate all that CSH did. And from that, I created our first, well, I'm about to send out the calendar invite if anybody's interested, but the first date for our supportive housing task group. So June 11th, this will be on an every other month basis for an hour. We have the 12 to 1 space. Harlan House will be providing lunch. But basically, it's just for those, as I mentioned, that are housing providers providing kind of the direct services to folks, case management. It's really going to be a space to where we bring up different challenges that those providers are facing, go over any issues, hold it as like maybe a brainstorm or problem solving session. I also note that from those learning labs that a lot of our case management talked about resources, who knows what, how can we streamline those resources? So that will be also kind of a discussion that will be brought up at those task groups. But essentially, we understand that the work that direct service providers and housing providers are doing is difficult, and they're engaging with more difficult folks in our community. And so we want to be able to support them in those efforts. So that's what this space is. And we'll provide lunch, which is even better. So just a heads up, June 11th is the first one, 12 to 1. If you would like an invite, please shoot me an email.
Or if you want your staff to be there, shoot Jamie an email
Yeah.
or get them on the list too. All right, thanks, Jamie.
Josh, can I just say that thank you for the learning labs. The overwhelming response from my staff has been that they have been very beneficial. They've enjoyed them, especially some of my long-term staff who learned in a different era. They have enjoyed the interaction, the networking, and the information provided. So thank you.
That's awesome, Penny. Thanks for the feedback. It's been a fun room to be in, just to hear, all the attendees were so good about participating and sharing ideas. The conversations that happened in those learning labs was just really fun to be a part of. So we're brainstorming now, kind of how, the task group is part of that, but how do we continue to provide opportunities like that moving forward is something where we're kind of dreaming up for the months ahead. But thanks for the feedback.
I think it's awesome and definitely needed. I was wondering, if something would continue, and I'm glad to hear that you're working on that.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right. One thing on the announcements, I'm just going to put this out there very quickly. Community Foundation for the Land of Lincoln, let me make sure I put this correctly. Their community grants program is going to go live on June 3rd. All right. Robert, write that down. June 3rd, Community Foundation, the Land of Lincoln, their community grants program is going to go live. That's the grant where organizations can apply for any charitable request up to $5,000. The Community Foundation has been an incredible support of the strategic plan and efforts to help move it forward. So I would love to see all of you apply and get grants out of that and cheer for you along the way. The last thing, and I'm going to put it in the chat, their website. If you don't get their emails about grant alerts, you should go to their website and sign up for those. It's right there on the website. You can sign up for their newsletter and the grant alerts. The last thing, and I know we only have 5 minutes here before we get to public comments, but through Illinois State University, this happened last year, and it's happened again. They are going to be looking to get rid of quite a few extra large twin mattresses this summer, actually next month. And so I want to put that out there. So there's a couple here. I think here's what would be helpful, and Laura or Helping Hands might be able to speak into this because they took a box truck up last year and got quite a few. So if you're concerned about shape of the mattress or those types of things, we can get you some feedback on that. But you know, so the question would be, if your organization could use some of those, how many could you use? How many would you like? Transportation, picking them up, I'm sure we can work together to figure out a plan for that. But another challenge is storage. If we go and pick up some, you know, the need is probably not going to be immediate for a lot of those. So if anybody has thoughts on, you know, our organization needs 20 and we'll store them, you know, those types of things. I'd absolutely love for you to get back with me as quickly as possible through email on that. Any questions on that one? All right. In the email that we sent out, you know, about this, we also announced that we are hiring, or certain. I know we're the only ones in the room that are hiring, but we are seeking for a system support specialist that's going to come alongside and be a part of our team and help support all these efforts too. So if you know anybody looking, please don't hesitate to pass that along. And that gets us to any public comments, any other comments that folks would like to share today before we close? Ramona, I'm seeing your comment in the chat here, reading through that. Excellent. Ramona in the chat is just asking for resources basically to help children, in particular foster children who have experienced homelessness, how to support them, you know, on the other side of some of that trauma that they've experienced. So her email is there in the chat too. If you know of good resources, you know, good books, webinars, those types of things, she'd be happy to receive it. All right, everybody. Well, that brings us up to the 10 o'clock hour. We are, again, so grateful for your work, grateful for you being a part of this call. And as always, if you need anything between now and our July 18th meeting, let us know. But we will plan to be back at this space in 2 months. So take care, everybody.
Josh, do you need a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Tammy's got it. Bill's got it. So moved.
See you
Thanks,
all.
everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.